Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Choosing the Royal Gold Medalist is one of the highlights of an RIBA President's Year, but it takes a good team too. The Honours Committee, who chose not only the Gold Medalist, but also the Honorary Fellows and the International Fellows, comprised Louisa Hutton, Harry Parry, Benedetta Tagliabue, and last year's Gold Medalist, Joseph Riquez, with me in the chair, of course. So please join me in thanking them for their time and for their very good review. We now come to the presentation of the 2015 RIBA International Fellowships, which reward the particular contributions non-UK architects have made to world architecture. These are people, and I quote from our Bibles, whose work not only represents the spirit of their countries, but also transcends it to become truly international in its reference and influence. Sadly, not everyone is able to attend due to prior commitments elsewhere in the world, but we will still have someone to collect their certificates on their behalf. The citations will be read by RIBA Awards Group Chair Philip Gamuchian and RIBA International Fellow, member of this year's Honours Committee and Architect of the Stirling-winning Scottish Parliament, Benedetta Tagliabue. Can you both join me on stage, please?
From Argentina. And taught at Princeton, first came to public notice as the originator and organizer of a number of exhibitions at MoMA in New York. He was one of the first architects to realize that environmentally friendly architecture was not a specialist concern, but both a design problem and a great opportunity. His landscape-cum-building designs include the Fukuoka Prefectural and International Hall and the Maikal Cultural Center in Sinchanda, both in Japan, the Lucille Halsell Conservatory and the San Antonio Botanical Gardens, both in Texas, Stem Cell Ophthalmological Research Center, the Ospedale dell'Angelo and the Banco del Occhio Medical Center for Italy, the terrace garden for the Pompidou Center in Paris, and his reformulation of the traditional Andalusian house, Casa del Retiro Espiritual.
Mr. Stephen Border, President of RIBA, Mr. Commissioner, distinguished guests, colleagues, friends, I cannot tell you how happy I am that RIBA was so reckless as to give me this award. I'm sure that your members will chastise you for years to come for abating and helping an architect who covers everything up with salt. That you've seen the on my back. Thank you very much.
Julia Bowles and Peter Wilson, Germany. Peter and Julia met in the AA in London and established their practice here, moving to Münster in '88 on winning the competition to design the new city library there. This highly articulated building is a response to a Luxor Theatre in Rotterdam, which was shortlisted for the 2001 Mies van der Rohe Prize. The visually striking, functionally ambiguous pair of harbour buildings in Münster, 2006, and the highly tactile and contextual library in the heart of the Dutch city of Helmond in 2010. Both Julia and Peter are dedicated to teaching and have inspired students, like me, and architects through their provocative and relevant public lectures around the world. Peter is a jury member for the 2015 Mies van der Rohe Prize.
Mr. President, dear guests, Peter and I have the same birthday. Although having been born on opposite sides of the globe, Peter down under and myself in Germany, it was here in London that we met up. And ever since, we have been attempting a synthesis of these very different geographical and cultural backgrounds. Peter's irrational Australian Anglo-Saxon and my rational continental European. Our formative years in London, however, have remained a shared reference and a measuring point of our work. We are therefore greatly honoured and proud to become international fellows of this great institution.
And to further the Australian perspective, I can count my credentials back to an ancestor who got 7 years in the penal colony for stealing a pocket handkerchief, which makes me a sort of aristocrat in Australia. I believe it was an aesthetic crime. This fellowship for me is a sort of imaginary and symbolic reprieve from that original transportation. Our deepest thanks, we welcome greatly being taken back into the fold.
Santiago Ciruela of Spain. Santiago is the personification of guerrilla architecture. He understands how hard it is for people to improve their own environments, and he set up the collective Recetas Urbanas, recipes for the city, to empower other citizens to find loopholes in planning laws, to adapt and to recreate their environments. He has developed a series of subversive projects that explore the complexities of urban life today. These include the occupation of public spaces and containers, negotiating the way between legal and illegal zones, reminding us of the pervasive control to which we were all subject. He has built housing units on rooftops, classrooms on top of a variety of institutions, and civic centres built from materials he himself collected from about to be demolished buildings. He's truly an architectural one-off.
Thanks for the fellowship, of course. It's for me only, of course, because we are working in a network around Spain and around Europe. Now our position, I'm younger than you, sorry, but it's to work together around all Europe, Latin America, trying to change politics and to try to convince and to demand that we can make another type of architecture. So it's our question now. Day by day we are working with different peoples. This piece is from a giant team, architects and hackers and lawyers who are working to try to make another different pieces for little childs with this plastic. It's okay. So it's another way to make architecture. So thanks for all the friends, your friend, and my family too. Thanks.
João Luís Carrilho de Graça, Portugal.
Good
João Luís graduated from the Escola Superior de Bellas Artes de Lisboa in 1977 and immediately set up his own practice. He lectured in the Faculty of Architecture at the Technical University of Lisbon between 1977 and 1992, to which he returned in 2014. His most significant works include the Archaeological Museum of Praça Nova do Castelo de San Jorge, the Carpinteira Pedestrian Bridge in Corvilla, and the School of Music at the Lisbon Polytechnic Institute. He was made a Chevalier des Arts et des Lettres by the French Republic in 2010. He received the Order for Merit of the Portuguese Republic in 1999 and the International Art Critics Association Award in 1992.
Mr. President, Stephen Oder, I would like to say some words to thank. The test I wrote begins with the word described. There never were as many architects working worldwide or such enthusiasm for architecture as there is today. The two latest Portuguese architecture exhibitions abroad, organized by young architects, were titled Tradition is Innovation, after Álvaro Sisa's sentence, Tradition is a challenger to innovation, and the other, Discretion is the new visibility. I'd like to mention at this moment the many young Portuguese architects working throughout the world. I am pleased and thankful for this fraternal distinction. Thank you very much.
Richard Leplastre of Australia. Sadly, Richard's unable to be with us tonight, so he's asked Gil McLaughlin, who nominated him, to let you walk on his behalf. Richard Leplastre is a key figure in Australian architecture and architectural education. His architecture is sensitive to place and to culture, and he uses the studio as a teaching room as well as a place to make architecture. Of particular note are his tiny hidden houses, his exquisite furniture, his boat Dorothy, and his broad influence within Australian architecture. Specifically, his most important projects are Palm Garden House, Sydney, Rainforest House, Mapleton, Queensland, Cloudy Bay Retreat, Tasmania, the Design Centre, Tasmania, and Launceston, Tasmania, and Larned Bay House, Sydney. Richard is the key philosophical influence behind much of the best work we see from Australia today. He provides the backbone of the country's architectural thinking and belief.
The word unassuming is often overused, but I think it applies in this case. Richard would hate to draw any attention to himself. At the moment, he's probably sitting at the single piece of furniture in his house, which is the most beautifully crafted table I've ever seen, where he invites all comers. You can't get there by road, you just take a boat across the Hawkesbury River and go up the hill of the house. You'll be given a glass of malt and are allowed to discuss architecture and their ideas. He'll show you extraordinary drawings which he has from his collection from the Arts and he worked with in the Opera House. Talk about his time with Kensington in Japan. I think he's the deep mind behind much of the Australian architecture that we know. He dislikes having his work published, thinking that architecture should be witnessed. There was no point in turning into pictures. And when you go and see his buildings, they are completely incomparable experiences. The sense of situation, of dwelling, of place, and the real meaning of craftsmanship is absolutely clear in his work. What would he say if he was here? He would say nothing about himself, but I do think he would like me to say on his behalf that we should remember his great friend, Ian Athfield, who died in January. He was the guiding spirit behind New Zealand architecture, and I think he would speak for him and ask us to remember him. So thank you very much for that.
States. Unfortunately, Tom is in China on business, so he has asked his nominator, Stephen Hodler, to collect on his behalf. The architecture of Tom Main has been likened to Mozart's Sonata No. 13 in B-flat, played by The Clash. His work always pushed at the boundaries of architecture while still respecting its traditions. His respect for the grades of modernism is thus tempered by a continuing interest in complexities of the counterculture. In 1972, Main founded Morphosis. He described the early days of the group as more of a garage band than an architectural practice. Morphosis was an early adopter of computer-aided design. Its work has a layered sculptural quality typified by the new academic building at the Cooper Union, New York, 2009. The Parrot Museum in Nature and Science in Dallas in 2012, and the newly completed Bill and Melinda Gates Hall in Cornell, 2013.
As you mentioned, Tom is in China, so he couldn't be with us, but he emailed a message to me yesterday which reads, I'm sorry I couldn't be here tonight with you all. I want to express my deepest thanks for the opportunity to join the RIBA. I find myself in the company of some of the world's greatest thinkers and designers. Our world and the field of architecture have, without doubt, been irrevocably transformed through their passions, visions, and creations.
Our next international fellow, another one of them, is from the United States, is Antoine Prelot, who also sadly can't be here tonight. Antoine Prelot epitomizes a rooted American architecture, and he continues to practice in Albuquerque, New Mexico, just off the legendary Route 66. Many of his buildings seem always to be there in their landscape settings. His shadow house, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 2004, embodies the sense of a space of the high desert and weaves modern and traditional materials. His work has such conviction and passion that it also translates to many other cultures and has been universally embraced. Witness his recently completed Canadian Museum for Human Rights and the National Palace Museum in Taiwan. Equally, he's adept at integrating contemporary work into historical context. He won the AIA Gold Medal in 2006.
A year ago at the opening of the Human Rights Museum with quite extraordinary. And he sent me again this message early this morning, which reads, for many of us, it's a kind of miracle when we first encounter a glimpse of our life's purpose. In my case, the awareness of architecture as an artist's enterprise parallel but distinct from the pragmatic science of building, trusting in an inner truth to be always true to one's inner life. Architecture as a poetic and physical ride, a fascinating journey towards the unexpected. So to receive this tremendous honour from the RIBA is a wonderful component of that ride. In my decades of experience, I touched on the great turmoil in architecture that was occurring here in Great Britain in the 1960s, involving enriching mentorship and inspiration from Jim Sterling and Sandy Wilson. This honour of being an RIBA International Fellow is an auspicious return, and I wish I could have written here this evening on my Vincent Black shadow. Antoine Prelot.
Peter Rich, South Africa. Peter Rich's greatest contribution to architecture has been through his seminal research into African concept of space making in sub-Saharan Africa. He co-founded the Kigali-based practice Light Earth Design in order to lead the development of local building industries through the application of appropriate sustainable technologies. His research has also led to the development of high-density urban environments. Peter was relatively unknown in Europe before winning the World Building of the Year award at the World Architectural Festival 2009 with his Makumgubwe Interpretation Center. It is contained by two hollow cairns that evoke the road markers from the southern African cultures. The Alexandra Heritage Center, 2000, is a rugged township building and provides a sense of community and facilitates poverty relief by training inhabitants in tourism and heritage.
Mr. President, Benedetta, and honoured guests, wow, this is a real privilege, and it's an encouragement for us to go on fighting the good fight we're fighting in the largest continent in the world, which is Africa, which is waking up to its own potential. What's happening in Africa is what took 75 years in Europe is happening in 5 to 10 years. And what we're trying to do is with Light Earth Design and with my own practice, is tackle the issue of first-generation urban dwellers in such a way that we give quality space and we give a sense of community to that, and we set examples of best practice. That's our goal and challenge, and our other challenge is to bring the genius of Africa to the world. We're doing that through cultural heritage projects. The project we're working on at Malai Toli, which is 3.6 million year-old footprints that are archival evidence that our ancestors were bipeds at that stage. We're doing as an African initiative, telling the African story. And we hope to use the Cape Town-based Handspring Puppet Company to do performances with puppets to tell that story, because we're building in the middle of nowhere where you can't have a flat on screen or a movie. So those are our challenges, but they artworks, and they're inspirational, and it's going to be the African story. And I'm just very privileged to do that. And I'd just like to thank the RIBA, but I'd also like to thank my wife Diane for being the rudder who's held the ship together, and also known when to throw the anchor down and put it up. Because we work in an uncertain world. And Mr. Doshi taught me that. He said the developed world is one of certainty that has its own anxieties. Work in the uncertain world, it has its own wonderful creativity. So that's what we do. Thank you very much.
From China, who have been also unable to join us tonight from China. Architect and Professor Wang Shu studied at the Nanjing Institute of Technology. He founded Amateur Architecture Studio with his wife Lu Wenyu in 1997. Wang Shu and Lu Wenyu are highly critical of the part architects have played in the destruction of the Hutans and large parts of Chinese cities. The couple's principal works include the Library of Wenzhen College, Suzhou University, built on stilts on a lake, 5 scattered houses, Ningbo, where natural elements and people coexist, Tiangshan campus of China Academy of Arts in Hangzhou, 2004, which is a small town with rich private and public spaces, and Ningbo History Museum in 2008, a mountain of recycled traditional building materials. In 2012, Wang became the first Chinese citizen to win the Principal Prize.
I just have a brief message from Wang Shu and the news. It is really exciting for us to know this news. We are very honoured by it. We know there are many excellent architects who have won this honour in past few years. Many thanks to the Honours Committee, to the Royal Institute of British Architects, and to Stephen Hodder and Louisa Hunt, who nominated us. So thank you Benedetta, and thank you Philip. Congratulations to all of you near and far. I hope very much that we'll be able to work with you in the future to further the spirit of internationalism that is so key to our work, as manifested in our new international award, which we'll be launching next month.